Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be my worst of makeup 2022. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you're into eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of your makeup the way I am, then definitely stay tuned because today's video is going to tie it all together because I've tried a lot of makeup in 2022 and sadly, not everything I reviewed ended up working for me, and there are some high-end things here, there are some more affordable things here, there's definitely a bit of a mix. But I have to say and be very honest here that I think that, you know, don't take, like, if these are your favorites, then I hope you don't mind me just saying why I didn't love these. I mean, I think these can still work for a lot of people. They just didn't work quite well for me. And that has to do with the fact that I have a cool to neutral undertone, for instance, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. I'm also very pale and fair, so it definitely means that some things just aren't gonna work, and because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I have some strong preferences as well. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then definitely click subscribe down below. So yeah, today we're talking about all of my worst makeup of the year, and I already mentioned it in the intro. Please don't take offense if these are your favorites. Love that for you. These just somehow didn't work for me. So today we are talking about some drugstore things, a lot of Essence and Catrice, because that's what I try out a lot, and they can be quite hit and miss brands. But I also have a couple of thoughts on some higher end things that I also want to share with you. So let me just start before I forget with the thing that I don't have here to show you, because I felt it was so terrible that I already decluttered it. And it's the tinted moisturizer or tinted skin tint kind of product that Catrice came out with. I'll pop a picture up on the screen because I did review it. I'm pretty sure I did. And this was something called like the Clean Idea Hydrator Skin Tint or something like that. And it looked like a right old mess for me. I can link you to the review that I wrote, which includes pictures of what this looked like on my skin. And what this product did is, I think if you have oily skin, it can work. But my skin is quite dry, dehydrated. I've got a lot of fine lines. I'm getting wrinkles. I'm in my late 30s. So it wasn't gonna work. And the reason why it didn't work is because it just clumped together. I think it's a product that can work really well for people who don't wear much other makeup, but the minute I layered a bronzer over it, or I tried to powder it, or if I tried to apply and blend concealer into it, it started to look like a right old mess. And after just 30 hours of wearing it, it started to just clump together in these patches, and then there were patches of skin where there was no product left. So this was not good. Not good. It didn't look nice. The day I tried it, I was supposed to meet my friends for dinner, and I took off my entire base makeup really quickly because I was like, I can't leave the house like this. It looked like I had a skin disease, like as if my skin was like coming loose, like if you have a lot of like dry flakes on your skin. It looked like I was covered in that, like I had really bad eczema or something like that, which if you do have that, and I do apologize, that's really terrible if you do have that, but for me, that's not what I usually look like, so I didn't want to leave the house looking like that, for sure. So that's why that didn't work. Another thing that I haven't fully reviewed yet, but what I tend to do with products is the day I get them in, or very quickly after I buy them, I will gather a couple of products, take all the pictures, swatch everything, and then I already try everything to take pictures with for the blog. So my first impression is usually done way before I ever put things in a Shop My Stash and really try it out. So I use my Shop My Stash to cycle through my makeup collection, try new things, go back to old favorites, etc., etc. I do them once a month at the start of the month. But something I haven't put in a Shop My Stash yet, but that I did already do a first impression with is this. And this is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. This is in the shade, Fair. This is the lightest shade they do. And it's much too dark, which is why, based on a first impression, I can already say that I don't like this, because this is the lightest shade available, and it's not even like a shade too dark. It's like Oompa Loompa orange dark. And for this then to be the lightest shade, I don't care how lovely this product is. I didn't love it for that. So I still want to put it in my Shop My Stash just to see what the wear time is like, etc, etc. I'm trying this out for a drugstore foundation review that I'm working on. And a lot of people recommended it to me in the comments when I asked for recommendations, what they wanted to see me try, that I should try this. I got my hands on it. Wet n Wild is, of course, very cheap and cheerful. I really generally like some Wet n Wild products, but a lot of it has gotten decluttered over the years because I just have things from, for instance, Essence and Catrice, which is as affordable to me or sometimes even cheaper than Wet n Wild because over here it's marked up a little bit. And for me, it's just a no-go if the shade is much too dark. I can't make it work. I might be able to blend it down my neck, especially in like the spring season. This might still work for me, but not a favorite for sure. And then there were some mishaps from Catrice. The Brow Fix soap stylist. I'm not sure if I'm even showing the one that I'm supposed to be showing. I have two of these, and one of them is more of a brow soap, and one of them is a brow wax. And they're both called Brow Fix. So now I'm not entirely sure anymore which one is which, but I believe it's the wax one, and I believe I've taken the soap one upstairs. So, but they look exactly the same in the container, so that's why it's confusing. But yeah, the Catrice Brow Fix that was launched in the fall time, like it was a mess. It was just such a mess. It was leaving clumps of wax in my brows that I couldn't brush out. So yeah, Catrice Brow Fix with the wax, it just wasn't my thing. So that's why this is one of my worst products I tried all year. And this is already in my empties, even though it isn't empty. This is the Catrice Bang Boom Brow Fixing Spray. This is supposed to be for your brows, but also for your face. And that's how I was using it. And usually I really like the Catrice setting sprays that they do. They do some really good things. But this one, it just, over time, it started to make my skin feel very, very dry. And the more I use it, the more I was like, oh, this is the thing that's drying out my skin. So that's why this is also one of my worst products of 2022. And then there are a few Essence things, and these are also from their fall launch. The Extreme Care Hydrating Glossy Lip Balm. The idea of this sounds really nice. Like, it sounds like a very, like, nourishing lip balm-like, but with a bit of gloss. First of all, the shades. This was the only shade that worked for me. It's the peachy one. The lighter one was a very milky pink. And the darker one was a milk chocolate brown. Not gonna work for me. This one was okay shade-wise, but the scent. Like, now it does smell like vanilla, but the way this smelled, and also the new Essence lipsticks had the same smell. IKEA scented candles. That, if you walk into that section of the store, that like plasticky scent, that's what this smelled like when it went onto your lips. I did not like these for that reason. The shade range was weird. Do not recommend. And finally, the Essence Change Your Cheek Game Color Changing Blush Oil. First of all, I don't know if you can see, let me hold it up here. Yes, that's blue. If you're thinking, does that look like a blue thing? Yes, it does. Now, a lot of people, when I tried this out, didn't understand why I wasn't loving this, it seems, because everybody's like, it works. It shows up, and it does. This is one of those pH reacting kind of products where it turns into a pink when you apply it. That concept works. But my main gripe with this is because it goes on clear, luckily the blue tint disappears when you apply it, you don't see how much you're applying. And if this then changes after a few seconds into a vibrant pink color, chances are you look like a clown within 2 seconds because you over applied it, because at first you're like, oh, I can't see anything. And then you've applied too much. So it's very difficult to control how much product you are putting on, because you can't see upon application what it looks like on the skin. You need to let it sit for a few seconds for the full effect to take hold, which is strange. For the lips, something like this I do understand, but for the cheeks, not a fan. Plus, this is an oil. Now, I don't know about you, if you know anything about science or cooking or whatever, but if you apply a nice layer of foundation and maybe a bit of concealer, maybe even powder on your cheeks, and then you apply your bronzer. And I am someone who likes to apply my blush after I apply highlighter, so I do bronzer, highlight, and then blush to blend it all together. You know what happens if that product is then an oil-based product? Yes, it breaks up everything underneath it. This does not last. Yes, there is a stain, but my cheeks are naturally quite red. And that just shines through, and it takes off your highlight, it takes off your foundation underneath it. I did not like it. Do I understand what they were going for with this? Oh yes, because pH changing things are all over TikTok. This is definitely a trend that Essence was very much like diving into. So I get it, Essence, I get it. You're trying to be trendy here. But it's just a trend that I cannot get on board with. If you love this, you like this, does this work in terms of, does it blush up a look? For sure. But I have so much blush in my collection that I don't need to go through the faff of using this. And my next two products kind of go hand in hand. And that is so I can have a bit of a rant about this brand, Charlotte Tilbury. I had sort of put off trying these and fully reviewing them because part of me knew that these wouldn't be perfect. But I was sort of putting it off because this is Charlotte Tilbury. Everybody loves Charlotte Tilbury. It's very hyped up in the beauty community. And so I wanted to love these so badly. And this is something that I have mentioned before, doing like a full face of Charlotte Tilbury, which I've done in the past, that all of her products just skew very warm-toned. If there is a brand on the market that I could say does not cater to cool undertones, it's dear old Charlotte. So what I just want to ask here is anyone who loves the brand, I still love the brand. There are a lot of products I like by the brand, but these two just weren't it because they are too deep, too warm-toned. If you are a snow angel like me, Charlotte Tilbury is just not going to be your go-to brand, no matter how fancy and bougie the packaging looks, no matter how many people rave about this. In the beauty community, the standard is medium skin tones. That's the creators who go viral because they can try the most products, because most lines cater to people with medium skin tones. And if you're on the deeper end of the spectrum, or if you're on the lighter end of the spectrum, and if your undertone is anything but a yellow, you're gonna struggle getting the most use out of especially Charlotte Tilbury, but also in the full makeup game. If you have a more pink or an olive or a more reddish undertone in your skin, you're just going to feel very left out, which is why I'm sort of saying this as part of my spiel at the start of every video, because I have this different undertone, because I have fair skin, because I am so light and fair and pinks and silvers look better on me than golds and bronzes. I just can't get away with a lot of things, and even though I can make these work, they're not horrible, they're great products. Like quality-wise, this bronzer, the Airbrush Flawless Bronzer, and the, this is a very long name, the Hollywood Superstar Glow Highlighter that was limited edition for Christmas one year, are stunning products. But I also just have to be very honest with myself that this bronzer, even though it's the lightest shade, it just looks orange. It has the right level of depth, but it has the wrong undertone. So I like the bronzer in her Film Star Bronze and Glow. That's what the product is called. I like that better, which a lot of people use as a contour, but for me that's a bronzer shade, because I need also a bit of coolness in my bronzer shades for it to not look muddy. I understand the concept of a bronzer being to warm up your skin, but if I go into the sun and my skin tans, I don't get a tan. Like, I stay this pale because in order for me to get a bit of tan, I need to burn first. And I don't like burning my skin for a lot of reasons. Not just because it hurts, but it's also really bad for your skin. So I rather stay pale all year and like stay like a nice, like a nice level of like pale throughout the year than trying to bronze up and look very tan. I don't look tan. Even my natural bronze undertone is pinky red. That's just the way it looks. And then a lot of people are like, yeah, but where are your pink tone and your red tone bronzers? Those are very often aimed at much deeper skin tones, which I can then not wear because they have a lot of depth. So if Charlotte Tilbury comes out with another shade that has more gray in it than this, I would be very happy. But I have my Film Star Bronze and Glow, and I think I can make it work. And similarly, the highlighter, it's very pretty, but it's a rose gold. Gold, rose, warm pink, not good. I like peachy tones on myself because I do have that more neutral undertone. So if a peach tone is light enough, I really like the highlighter. But this is just a straight up rose gold, which goes perfectly with the brand. I mean, it's very on brand. It's a stunning product. I love the shine. It's very similar to a Dior highlighter that I have from way back in the day that I like, but I can only wear this in like August when I have a little bit of a tan, and I just feel it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So I finally reviewed these so I can I'll probably put them in the Makeup Memories box because it's got stunning packaging for sure. This is not going to go to waste. But yeah, Charlotte Tilbury is, especially her blushes and bronzers and highlighters and things, need more undertones before I can justify buying more. And then I have some palettes for you that I thought were disappointing. So first up, let me try and clean it up. Sorry if it's very fingerprinty. This is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2. So I wanted to try Patrick Ta. It was one of the brands I really wanted to try. But his first Major Dimension palette was just far too warm toned, and I knew I wasn't gonna love it. This was rosy, so I was like, ooh, that can work. In the end, I just know I will never ever sort of love this anymore. I'll probably keep it around for comparison's sake, but in terms of a warm rosy tone palette, this isn't it for me. And the main reason for that is the shimmer formula. Another thing I don't love, let's start there, is what's underneath the flap, which is the two creams, which I thought, maybe I can use that as a base and this as a liner and we'll be good to go. They are too emollient to be liners. When I tried using the deeper shade as a liner, it stamped against my crease, so I have very deep set eyes, so they're a bit further back, meaning that my lash line, like my lashes actually touch here, so when I blink, the liner would transfer to here. Not great. This as a base, far too dark. Didn't work. The mattes in here, stunning. Out of the world, like just best mattes I've ever tried kind of status. Really good mattes. But we all know me. I love my shimmers. And the shimmer formula in here I just found incredibly lackluster. In terms of shimmers, I could not pick these up with a brush. I can only pick these up with fingers. And now some people will say like, oh, but I don't mind picking up a shimmer with a finger. I don't either. But I do want to be able to blend them with a brush, which these you can't do. I cannot get these to transfer to my lower lash line, and my lower lash line is too small to be using fingers. These need the oils for your fingers to work, which means the only thing you can do is to smudge them all over your lid. And I want to be able to do like halo eyes with these things, or cut creases, or use them in the inner corner as an inner corner highlight, or like I want to be able to have shimmers that I can play with. And these, it's one shimmer all over the lid, and maybe if you're careful you can like do it a bit like this on the outer edge, but that's all you can do with these. So I felt very disappointed with this. Also some of the lighter shades, which I thought were going to be perfect rosy tones for me, ended up just being far too warm toned. I ended up liking this quad in the palette a lot more than the lighter things, which makes it very glam and smoky every time I use it. So yeah, this was a bit of a letdown. It's definitely one of the least favorite eyeshadow palettes I tried all year, and I can see why people like it. This is a good formula if that's what you're going for. If you're a matte in the crease and a shimmer all over the lid kind of person, you do you. I think this can be really nice for you, but for me, it just didn't work. I mean, I already have a bit of a halo eye going on today, and that was something I just couldn't do with this. And it probably also has to do with the amount of lid space I have. I just don't, I've got pretty small features. I need very small brushes to make things work. This just wasn't it. Sorry. And finally, and I know that Laura May Beauty put this in her favorites video of favorite palettes of the year, but the Glaminatrix Nearly Natural, it wasn't my favorite for sure. And she was raving about how much she loves the shimmer formula in here. And that's again my reason for disliking this. So the Nearly Natural from Glaminatrix was the reason why I tried the brand this year. I also got the Nocturnal. That was sort of on my wish list, but it wasn't convincing me enough to really bite the bullet and get this shipped over from Australia, because Glaminatrix is a Australian indie brand. And there was this, the pre-order was announced. It was like, great, a neutral palette from an indie brand. This is going to be right up my street. People were tagging me in when they found this on Instagram saying, Micah, you're gonna love this. It's got these like greeny tones that look really interesting. And this is another one of those like things where it's like my undertone doesn't match this palette. Can this palette work for a whole host of people out there? Yes, but for me, I have other rosy leaning neutral palettes that I like better. I just do. So that's the first issue I had with this. Once I got it home, I realized how warm and how rosy it actually is. It looked a lot more interesting and more cool toned in a lot of the pictures I found online. So we get a lot of warmth over on this corner. Then you get those greens. Then this looks like pinks, but these actually pull warm toned. Then this is warm. This is cool, this is warm, and then this is cool. So we only get 3 cool tones in this entire palette, and everything else leans warm toned. And another thing we get here is a lot of rosy tones, but I was thinking, oh, I love rosy tones, I love my roses and my mauves, but all of the rosy tones here are warm. Plus a lot of the shimmers, this one, this one, this one, this one, once applied to the eyes, they all look the same. I can't really tell a difference. So if you were to put this on the lid and this on the lid, you can't do something like this where you have enough contrast. So I felt that I just wanted more from this palette. The actual shimmer formula in here, I filmed a short when I used this palette. I think it was with the more cool toned look. I felt that the shimmers in this palette needed a lot of building. A layer with a brush, a layer with a finger. I had to wet it to get it to look as vibrant as it did in a finger swatch. With brushes, these shimmers just aren't the best when you apply them. And the green tones that everybody goes on in this palette, that green shimmer pulled gold on me. The green tone just completely disappeared. And this pulled mustard brown. It didn't look green at all, and that has to do with my personal undertone. Because I have that cool to neutral undertone, these shades just pulled much warmer on me than what they looked like in the pan as well. So essentially, this wasn't my favorite because it's just not perfect. I was thinking, perfect new neutral palette, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't. And so I want Glaminatrix to do another one of these, but make it truly cool toned. That would be lovely. I think they can do it. I would definitely try some more by them. It's not like I dislike the brand at all. The Nocturnal I had no issues with. Those shimmers were lovely, but these just feel a little bit dry, and I get a lot of sparkle when I pick it up with a brush and less of the color. That's just the way it is. The mattes were lovely, but wrong undertone. So those are all of the products I wanted to talk about in like what I didn't love, what didn't work for me. I know that some people always hate it when you talk negatively about things, but I think it's always good to know as well what didn't work for me, what I just didn't love as much. And I hope I was able to make clear why certain things didn't work out for me. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Stay tuned for more because I have more videos coming your way with all of my favorites of the year as well. So those are going live. Some of them have already gone live. Some of them are still going live, and of course we're also doing eyeshadow palettes, and I will be back with a lot of content in January as well. So if you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, thank you so very much for being here, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care everybody, have a good day. Bye bye!